What is up, everybody? This is now my third time recording this video, but the Acura Integra finally got revealed.
Finally!
We've been waiting for more news of the Integra. Acura hyped up this vehicle a lot, saying that it's going to be the next Halo car, the capstone before EVs, and that it's been in development for about 6 years. In today's video, we're going to be finding out if the Integra lives up to the hype that was set by Acura. So the first thing I want to talk about is the NFTs. So when it was revealed, they showed that the first 500 customers to reserve the Acura Integra are going to receive NFTs. It's just another tone-deaf and lame move for Acura to try to appeal to younger audiences and those active lifestyles. And they also talked about how you can view this in the metaverse, in the ad that felt like I was on some sort of acid trip. But I'm not going to really talk about that, and I don't really care at all, so let's just move on. So let's start with the exterior. The Integra comes in at 185.8 inches long, and that's about pretty similar to what you would get in the second gen TSX, which is 186.2 inches long. And I think now that we've seen this Integra now in production mode, which includes the A-Spec and production colors, this looks so much better than the concept that was revealed, and I think it actually looks good now. It still retains the same slope back roofline that was revealed before. We still have the diamond pentagon grille with the chicane headlights and the chicane rear taillights. And overall, it really just looks a lot better than what we were seeing before. So you're going to have the base version, which is going to include chrome around the car, and it comes standard with 17-inch alloys. However, if you upgrade to the A-Spec, which is basically an appearance package, you're going to get some blacked out trim in the front, in the rear. You're also getting a nice gloss black spoiler, which is on the front fenders and also the rear tailgate. You're going to get the shark gray 18-inch wheels, which was shown on the prototype model, wrapped in 235 by 40 R18 tires. And that's pretty much the exterior of the Integra. I'm not going to complain about it too much. It looks fine. It looks completely fine. However, let's go to the interior. So we got the climate control vents as usual. And these climate control vents are a little bit different from the Civic. They're now in the diamond style, similar to the diamond pentagon grille up on the front. You get the 10-inch Acura Precision cockpit here, which is basically the digital gauge cluster. It comes standard on the Integra. You get the same 9-inch display here. It's been warmed over to make it look like what's offered on the other Acura models. And a lot of it is basically the same with the Civic. We see memory seats. There's going to be an available HUD display. It's basically a Civic interior. It has some extra features on it to make it a lot more premium. I do like the seats here. They're synthetic leather, and if you go on the top of the line model, you're going to get some microfiber inserts in there. You do have these nice 16 speaker ELS sound studio, and that's one of the few things that they took away from the upper tier Acura models. So you're definitely going to be having a nice sound system. The ELS is regarded as one of the best in its class. So it's good that Acura put it in here. Rear legroom is expected to be 34 inches and it's going to have a 22.6 cargo capacity. You're going to get 60-40 rear seat splits. And also speaking of, it's going to be pretty much the same as the Civics. So expect the same trim. You are going to get 2 USBs back there. And you're also going to see some of the ELS sound system back then if you get that top of the line package. But it's pretty much the same as a Civic. And one thing I also forgot to mention is that the driver also gets 12-way power adjustable seating, which differentiates itself from the Civic. However, as I said in my interior breakdown, I think the overall problem with the interior still exists, where it's just not differentiated enough from the Civic in my opinion. People are calling this luxury and upscale. Tend to disagree because really the only thing that really differentiates this from a Civic interior is some of the upper technology features and the Acura logo on that steering wheel. So one problem I have with this is the materials used on the seats. So no matter what trim you get, it's always going to be synthetic leather. Meanwhile, vehicles such as the Civic and also the first gen ILX real leather seating, and this only uses synthetic. This could have benefited greatly from the Milano leather that Acura has used in models such as the TLX and the RDX. Take a look at the dash. It's the same injection molded plastic that is used pretty similar to what is on the Civic. I think they definitely could have done better here, and they should have used leatherette with stitching, similar how they did in the Mazda 3. Overall, some of the aspects in this interior is actually a downgrade from a Civic, actually. So take a look at the gloss black right by the center console. On the Civic, it has a scratch-resistant material, which is going to last and look a lot better than this gloss black that is offered on the Integra. And Acura uses a lot of the same tech that is on the Civic as well, including the 9-inch touchscreen, the same digital gauges when they could have used ones at the Integra, and they could have used a bigger screen that is available on other Acuras. If we take a look at the heads-up display, it seems to be smaller and has less functionality than those of the other Acura models. And another thing that they could have done to make this interior look a lot better is add some of the aluminum and brushed copper aluminum trim that they use on the RDX and also the TLX on the door panels, which would have made this look a lot better in my opinion. I also would have swapped out the big old plastic which replaces the full-length honeycomb air vents to another different material that would have made this look premium. Also, if we look at the feature sets, this doesn't offer other features that you would get on those luxury cars. For example, there's no option for ventilated seats. And vehicles such as the GLI and the GTI offer that. There's no panoramic sunroof. Again, vehicles such as the GTI, the A3, and more offer a panoramic sunroof. Even the Chinese Honda Integra offers that same panoramic sunroof, so it could have just been a copy-paste job here. The only way you can get a heated steering wheel is if you get a dealer-installed option. It doesn't seem like you can get it direct from the factory. And if we take a look at the rear, there's no heated rear seats, and that's something that you can get on a Canadian spec Civic. Even the rear seats don't even have air vents, which is something that you could have gotten on a previous gen TLX. So this Integra is sort of missing out functions and features that would truly make it premium and a different interior worth upgrading from the Civic in my opinion.
Hang up. Corporate needs you to find the differences between this picture and this picture. Intel has told us there are at least 7.
Okay, I already see one. Give them. Okay.
They're the same picture.
Nothing about this interior is really screaming premium or luxury in my opinion, other than maybe the seats and then the ELS sound system. Yes, there's features added in this interior, but it's basically a Civic interior with more features in it. But that's basically what I think about the interior. Let's moving on to the performance. So the performance, we probably expected this, is going to be the same 200 horsepower and 192 pound-feet of torque, taken from that same 1.5 liter turbocharged engine. The torque comes on at 1800 RPM. It goes all the way to 5000. You're going to have a red line of 6500 RPM. They're using the same coil exhaust that they use on the Civic Si here. It's going to enhance the sound, they say, but it's going to be pretty quiet in reality, and I'll put up a video proving it. It's going to be prepared with a 6-speed manual transmission. The 6-speed manual transmission is going to be short throw, just like the Civic Si. It's going to feature the rev matching, and it also is going to use the helical limited slip differential, which is pretty nice. The manual is only available on the top of the line models, and I kind of understand why Acura would do this, because you need to make your money back, of course. So I don't have a problem with that either. So the CVT, they retuned it to react quicker to throttle inputs. They also tuned it to mimic fake shifts as well. All Integras are going to have paddle shifters, just like the Civic Sport 2 Touring, in order to mimic those fake shifts as well. So It's what you would expect from a CVT. The front brakes are going to be 12.3 inches, and the rear are going to be 11.11, similar to the Civic Si. Fully independent suspension. You're gonna have integrated dynamic system, which basically is comfort, sport, and normal modes as well. You do get an individual mode, but that's only on the top of the line trims, and I don't see why they didn't put it in the lower trims because the Civic Si has it. You also have the adaptive damper system, which again was taken out of the 11th gen Civic Si. They put it here on the Integra. And that's only going to be available to you on the top trim. So yeah, this is basically all the features that are added. It's basically a Civic Si, but you can throw in the CVT, or you can also get the adaptive damper system if that was an important omission from the Civic Si. But in all, it's just a pretty big disappointment. I was hoping that the Integra would be a middle ground between the Civic Type R and also the Civic Si, somewhere in between, like a 6 to 6.5 second vehicle, with a mid 14 second quarter mile time. I was thinking similar performance in the straight line to what a BRZ GR86. This would be pretty easy to do, right? You include this with the Civic handling. The ILX also gets 6.4 seconds, 0 to 60. So I thought Acura would deliver here, but they did not. So the two biggest issues for me is it's only 200 horsepower. And just for reference, the 2004 Acura TSX has 200 horsepower standard as well. And we can look through the Civic Si lineup. It's 8th gen, 197 horsepower, 9th gen 201, 10th gen 205, and now this one has 200. They just haven't made a jump. And in 18 years, Honda hasn't increased the horsepower at all in their entry-level product.
Did I ever tell you what the definition of insanity is? Insanity is doing the exact same fucking thing over and over again, expecting shit to change. That is crazy.
So the Civic Si does 0 to 60 7.1 seconds and has a quarter mile time of 15.3 seconds. If you look at the Accord, it has a 0 to 60 of 7.3 seconds. So maybe the Integra will slot somewhere in between that. It could be slightly slower at 7.4 or something like that. But I would expect it to perform similar to those cars. However, at $28,000, I thought the Civic Si wasn't really that appealing with the 200 horsepower. I thought it could have just used a power jump, the same as many other vehicles have been getting. And at $30K to $35K, around that, it's just not really doing it for me with the Integra.
Okay, just half.
No.
A quarter?
No.
One bite?
No.
Just smell it.
If I didn't want it out there, what makes you think I'd find it more appealing in here?
And I think they could have done better. I think they should have used the 2-liter engine straight out of the Accord. And many have said, oh, but the 2-liter is reserved for the Type S model. Well, yes, but you can have different tunes of the exact same engine. Look at Volkswagen Group, the Audi A3. It has a 2-liter engine making 201 horsepower with a mild hybrid. The GTI, 241 horsepower, 273 pound-feet of torque. And then you have the top-of-the-line Golf R with the same engine, but it has 315 horsepower. I don't see why Honda can do the same thing here. Take the Accord 2-liter, detune it to 230 to 240 horsepower, and just stuff it in the Integra. And in my opinion, there's little to no drawback of doing this. Would it be faster? Yes. Would it still be fuel efficient? Yes. An Accord gets 32 highway, 22 city, and I think an Integra with the same engine in a smaller, lighter car could definitely get 34 highway, 25, 26 city. It would be more refined than the 1.5 liter engine, as bigger engines tend to be more refined, making this just as livable, even more livable than a Civic, and it also provides a more luxury experience. It wouldn't be too much expensive either. A 2-liter Accord starts at $33,000. Also, you have to look at manufacturing. Manufacturing cost is now reduced because there would be now 3 Acuras using the same engine, being the RDX, the TLX, and now the Integra, meaning that you can reduce the cost and complexity when you're manufacturing. And also, the version without the turbo, is literally available on the base Civic for $22,000. I really don't think adding a turbo is that much money, and it definitely could have been done with this vehicle. My second major issue with the performance is the CVT. They could have just continued using the same 8-speed DCT that was found in the ILX. According to the reviews, it was an excellent transmission. It had a torque converter, which allowed it to have smoother accelerations at lower speeds. And the big issue with DCT was that they tended to jerk off the line when you start them. And this DCT eliminated that issue. But I've seen many say, normies need something to drive too. But however, normies would be perfectly fine with a DCT, and enthusiasts would also enjoy the DCT too. Acura has been marketing this to enthusiasts through their whole marketing campaign, and enthusiasts do require a decent transmission. Look at the GTI that offers a DCT, and guess what? Most people take the DCT even though it's an enthusiast product. Telling people that if you're enthusiast to only take the 6-speed manual is a pretty dumb argument, because many people have traffic that they don't want to drive manual in. Some people have disabilities. Some people just don't want to learn but still enjoy cars and want a good automatic transmission that will encourage driving fun. And this CVT is just not the way to do it. Even Hyundai with the N-Line, they put a 7-speed DCT on there. Meanwhile, all the other Hyundai Elantras get a CVT. So Acura is definitely in the wrong here for putting a CVT. And I think it's just laziness for not putting in that 8-speed DCT. And also, that 8-speed DCT is also paid for from the ILX and the TLX. So it's just a cost-saving move just to put the CVT in here instead of that DCT. And it's just plain disappointing in my opinion. Another part of the performance that disappointed me is that Acura made it seem like all Integras would get the limited slip differential. However, we found that this would not be true. Only the top of the line manual transmission Integras would get that helical LSD, and that's just a disappointment as well, because that LSD with an automatic transmission could have appealed a lot of enthusiasts over to the Integra. So again, Honda, Acura, they just missed the bar and they just missed the mark here. Also, they could have also offered all-wheel drive in my opinion. Just like the Mazda 3, the A3, and the A-Class, which would have made this a lot more appealing. We know that the CR-V and HR-V will likely have it while using a similar platform, so they could have done it here. Basically, with the performance marketing as well, they could have marketed to a person who would have bought a WRX or the upcoming GR Corolla. And this could have also been a WRX competitor before the GR Corolla got here as well. But instead, they didn't put it on here. And I just think it's a missed opportunity, in my opinion. Yes, I know some of the stuff with the interior and the performance stuff will drive up the price. But in all, it will result in a more different product than what we can get in the Civic. And I would gladly pay like $33,000 for something that feels completely unique to a normal Civic. And I feel like that's what Acura could have offered here, and they missed that opportunity. Finally, I want to talk about packaging of this vehicle. And if we look across the lineup, Acura has made some boneheaded moves with their packaging here. So the first is the A-Spec performance package. The first is the A-Spec appearance package, and that's just going to be basically appearance package. It's not going to add any tech or anything. So basically the base and the A-Spec are really dependent on each other in terms of features. Your standard are going to be things like the moonroof, the dual LED headlights, the chicane headlights. If you want fog lights, you have to go with the A-Spec model. Puddle lamps are on the top of the line technology with advanced package. Technology with A-Spec package. Acura watch, blind spot monitoring are all standard. However, if you want proximity stance sensors and parking sensors, you have to go to the technology package. So other optional things that you can only get on the technology package is the individual mode, the adaptive damper system as well. Acura's 10.2-inch digital cockpit is standard, which is nice. Another boneheaded move that they made here was making the 7-inch touchscreen display standard. It makes absolutely no sense, in my opinion, why that is standard on a $30,000 vehicle. Even with the Civic, I think that the 9-inch should be on the EX models. And you have cars like the Kia Forte at $25,000 offering a 10-inch display. It's just so dumb how they put that 7-inch display with no OS or anything. Also, the wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are also tied to the 9-inch display, and you can only get that on the top of the line trim, and it just makes absolutely zero sense in my opinion, and it's an absolutely dumb move from Acura here. Next is the ambient lighting. It's not as good as the stuff that's offered on the TLX and the RDX and the MDX. They nerfed it here. You're not going to be able to change like the 64 color modes as you can do on other vehicles. The Acura ambient lighting is mostly white, and you can also changes to your drive mode as well. So very basic ambient lighting here. The next is the 16-speaker ELS sound system. You can only get that on the top of the line models. Bass and A-Spec, you're only going to get the 8-speaker system, which is probably found on the Sport or EX Civic. I can't remember off the top of my head. You can get a heads-up display, top trim, a wireless charging pad as well. You only get one USB port. That's kind of weird, how there's only one in the whole vehicle. And you have to go up to the technology package to get 3. So I'm assuming it's one more in the front and then the 2 in the back. Heated front seat standard, 8-way driver seat standard. You can upgrade to the 12-way driver seat with 2-position memory on the technology package. But it's completely dumb how they put the 4-way front passenger seat on the top of the line trim as well. Again, for $30,000, it should have that feature, and your passengers shouldn't have to crank their seats every time they try to use it. And that's just not premium nor luxury in my opinion. It's another stupid decision by Acura. The next is the synthetic trim seats. As I said before, they should have offered a real leather option, but they didn't. If you want micro suede, you'll have to go to the top of the line trim again. And again, another boneheaded move right here. Keyless remote engine start is not standard. It's basically standard on a Civic Sport all the way up through the Civic lineup. However, you have to spend about $35,000 to get a feature that you can get on a $22,000 car. It just makes zero sense in the packaging here. It's not terrible, but it's not that great. Like this, basically, if you want a more luxurious experience, you have to get the top of the line version compared to a Civic. Okay, so finally I wanted to go over how this compares with the rest of the Civic lineup. So let's compare to the Sport Touring versus the $30,000 entry-level Acura Integra. So if you go for the Acura Integra over the $30,000 Sport Touring model, you're going to lose your Bose stereo system for 8 speakers. You're going to lose your wireless CarPlay Android Auto, as well as the 9-inch screen. You're going to lose wireless charging. You're going to lose leather for synthetic leather. You're going to lose navigation, remote start, passenger adjustable seats, keyless remote engine start, as I said before. However, you do gain 20 horsepower. You gain that Acura styling, whether that's a positive or negative. However, I do want to point out that the Sport Touring is also available in manual without the LSD, of course. However, when you look at the base Integra, it's only available in that manual transmission. So I think you definitely want to get the Civic Sport Touring over the base Integra. You're basically getting robbed if you get the base Integra over a Sport Touring. It's not really a good decision. The performance will be generally the same. You do lose 20 horsepower, but it's not going to make that much of a difference. And I think the features more than make up for that, as well as the tuning from the SI. So yeah, I would definitely get the Civic Sport Touring. Compared to a SI, you do lose things again like the 9-inch screen with the wireless compatibility, the Bose stereo system. You do gain synthetic leather over the cloth, dual climate, heated seats, adjustable driver seat, the 10-inch digital cockpit. But with that, you have to weigh whether those features are worth a $3,000 upcharge over the SI. And again, you are losing the Bose stereo system and that 9-inch display, which has a lot of functionality attached to it. So I think the Integra really only makes sense when compared to the Civic line is if you're going for the top of the line model. So over the Sport Touring Civic, you're going to get adaptive dampers, LED ambient lighting, the 16-speaker ELS sound studio, heads-up display, and the 12-way power driver seat. And that's where it sort of makes sense to get that over, again, the Sport Touring. Let's take a look at the $30,000, the base Integra over the Accord. So if you pick the Integra over the Accord, you gain 8 horsepower. However, you lose passenger power seats. You lose a bigger screen, which has wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. You're going to gain blind spot monitoring, as well as the new safety system that the Accord doesn't have. It has the older version of Honda Safety. You're going to lose the real leather. However, you're going to gain the full digital display that the Accord doesn't have, but you're going to lose remote engine start. So you have to really weigh that in when you're looking at this against an Accord. And the one I'm talking about specifically is the Sport Special Edition. Also, a thing to point out is that the Integra will likely handle better, and it'll be a little more sporty, slightly more sporty overall than that Civic. The next, I think that the Accord 2.0 Sport is a better value than both the base Integra and also the top of the line trim. So compared to the Integra, you gain 51 more horsepower, 81 pound-feet of torque. So for 52 horsepower, 273 pound-feet of torque, you gain a 10-speed automatic, so no more CVT. You still get a plethora of nice features. It's going to be similar to the Special Edition Sports. However, you're going to lose things that you would get on the top of the line technology package, such as the adaptive dampers, LED ambient lighting, better sound system, HUD, and then the 12-inch and then the 10-inch digital cockpit. However, if you do step up, spend $2,000 or $3,000 more for the full Accord Touring, you're going to get a lot of that back. But I still think that the Integra is slightly better on technology, as it has that 16-speaker sound system and the full digital cockpit. However, I think with the performance, the Accord is just a better value and a better option overall than the Integra. And with the Accord, you're also going to get better passenger seating, and you're still going to get a good amount of cargo capacity, even though it's not the hatch that the Integra has. But overall, that's just me comparing it in the lineup and where I think it's valuable. I think if you're getting this, only get the top of the line model. It doesn't really make sense in the lower trim, so I would just pick a SI or a Sport Touring Civic over it. But even if you are spending that $35,000 on it, I just think that the Accord 2.0 is just a better option in my opinion, especially because you're not getting that limited differential on anything other than the manual. So what do you think about the Integra? What do you think about it compared to its competition? What do you think about it compared to other vehicles in Honda's own lineup? I personally think that Acura could have just done a way better job than they did here, and I think a lot of it is just half-hearted and a quick cash grab. That being said, I think that it'll still sell pretty well. To be honest with you, the original ILX, it sold more than the A-Class, the BMW 2 Series, as well as the Grand Coupe. It also sold well more than the A3. However, I still think it's just a Civic badge engineer job. But if you like this video, please like and subscribe. Every like helps a lot. Every comment helps a lot. And I look forward to have a boisterous discussion there, because I'm sure this will be a fairly controversial video. Check out any of my other videos. I did a deep dive of the Subaru WRX, and that one isn't really doing too well. And I felt like the most editing I have in a video into that, so if you would watch that, that would mean a lot to me. And I thank you for watching. I hope you guys have a blessed day, and I hope we get some more cool cars to come, and I hope to see you guys next time. Peace.